this is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So some really good news, or some more good news for Al Haymon, PBC, and Jermall Charlo. The fight that just took place this past weekend just did nearly 2.5 million views. It placed second as the most televised fight this year. That's really big. And I say that's really big for Jermall Charlo because his stock goes up. His stock goes up. He is still Canelo Alvarez's mandatory, so the fight makes even more sense now. What made these numbers so impressive is the Charlo brothers, they sold this fight all by themselves. They didn't have a big name opponent to help them sell this fight. People came just to support the Charlo brothers. On top of this being the second most watched fight this year on television, they also sold twice the amount of tickets that the Lomachenko versus Pedraza fight sold. So once again, that just debunks any notion that fighters on a coincidental list don't sell tickets and people don't want to watch them, etc., etc., etc. Numbers always debunk all of that ridiculous talk. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the reaction of Canelo fans and some of the most racist fans that fill up my comment section whenever I talk about Canelo or Charlo, Gennady Golovkin, or even Manny Pacquiao. And the funny thing is, even though Golovkin, Manny Pacquiao are not Mexican, the comments often come, the most racist comments often come from one race in particular. And the majority of you guys all know which race I'm referring to. And just in case you don't know, I'm not talking about white people. But I will say this though, I'm only talking about the racists. So if you are the same race as these racists, this has nothing to do with you if you're not one of the races. That means you don't have to post comments and say, hey man, I'm just letting you know I'm not a racist and etc., etc., etc. If you're not a racist, why are you defending yourself? You see what I'm saying? If you're not guilty and you have nothing to hide, you should not be defending yourself as if you are guilty. But with that being said, once again, I want to respond to some of these fans. You know, when I didn't expect fans to respond the way they did, Canelo Alvarez fans, and once again, the average decafs that I see in the comment section whenever I do videos about Canelo and so on and so forth. I knew that they would be happy that Charlo didn't put on the best performance, but I did not expect them to respond exactly the way they did. If I knew they were going to respond that way, my first video would have been a lot different, because my first post-fight video was mainly about Jermell Charlo losing to Harrison. And then later on, later on the next day, I looked at some of the comments and I seen them just going in saying, oh yeah, you black bastards are losing now. And this proves that Charlo was just a hype job and you guys were hyping him up. He's nothing, he's garbage. You know how they usually talk whenever it comes to someone on the coincidental list. And coincidentally, with me saying that, this proves, as I've been telling you guys for the longest, this proves that when these same fans, when they claim they hated Floyd Mayweather so much, and they claimed it was because of his domestic violence case, which happened towards the end of his career, when we know that's not true because they have been hating Floyd Mayweather since the beginning of his career. Or at least since Floyd Mayweather beat Oscar De La Hoya, because that's when the real hate started. But my point is, if you guys notice, this is why it's called the coincidental list, why I call it that. Because it's not a coincidence that someone like Al Haymon, Deontay Wilder, Errol Spence, Andre Ward, and now the Charlo brothers, they're all hated by these racist fans. That is not a coincidence. Once again, it proves it had nothing to do with Floyd Mayweather's personal life. It has something to do with his complexion. Now, I'm seeing all these fans celebrating Charlo looking mortal in a fight. But once again, none of these fans are clamoring for a Canelo-Charlo fight, for a Golovkin-Charlo fight. In fact, it is the complete contrary. These fans are celebrating, but they're telling me, because I responded to a couple people, because I'm so frustrated that I can't get these guys on the show. Because I want to get some of these guys on the show so we can really, really have a conversation, but they're not going to do that because they know they're going to be confronted with logic and truth. They just want to troll and say things that therapeutically makes them feel better with their hate that they have towards black people. So what I don't understand is, why are these decafs sitting over here saying, that's what you guys get, and in your face, etc., etc. This proves he was a hype job and all of this kind of stuff. Why are you guys saying all of this when everything that I've said in the past still remains? Which is, Charlo is still Canelo Alvarez's mandatory. I still believe that Charlo, he beats Canelo Alvarez. Like I told you, I don't know if Danny Jacobs beats him. In fact, I slightly lean towards Canelo in that fight, because of the judges. Because I truly believe that even if Danny Jacobs wins that fight, if it's close, they're going to give it to Canelo. Now, that's not to suggest that Canelo can't fairly beat Danny Jacobs. I'm just saying, Canelo, he has many ways of beating Danny Jacobs. He can either beat him with his skill, or he can beat Danny Jacobs with the judges. And by way of contrast, I don't believe that the Charlo versus Canelo fight will be as close as a Canelo versus Danny Jacobs fight. When fans talk about how good Karabov looked against Jermall Charlo, you guys have to realize styles make fights. And Karabov, his style is the complete opposite of Canelo's style. Canelo is a conventional fighter. Matt Karabov is a southpaw. Canelo usually stands in front of his opponents. Matt Karabov is a type of fighter, he's a moving type of fighter. He moves around the ring, he uses a lot of angles. Even when Canelo moves around the ring, he's not the type of person that uses his foot movement as defense. Like if you go back and you watch the James Kirkland fight, when James Kirkland put pressure on Canelo, James Kirkland, he backed Canelo up to the ropes. So did Angulo. Canelo is not the type of fighter that can keep the fight in the center of the ring with angles encircling you if he's being pressured. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe that is a 50-50 fight. I just lean slightly towards Charlo. But one thing I can guarantee you is the Charlo-Canelo fight will look nothing like the Charlo versus Matt Karabov fight. So it makes no sense to me if fans are going to celebrate that Charlo didn't look that good, but at the same time not say, I can't wait to see Canelo versus Charlo now. In fact, I told you guys, I had comments where people were calling Charlo a bum, and I responded to some of these guys and I said, so that means Golovkin and Canelo are going to fight him now, right? And to my surprise, a lot of these fans said, no, I don't want to see that fight. No, I don't want to see that fight. Charlo is a bum. He doesn't deserve to fight against Canelo. This is what a lot of fans were saying. And if you guys want me to make a video and show you these comments, I will. But what I noticed is if you listen to the way these fans are celebrating, once again, for them to celebrate that Charlo did not put on the best performance, but at the same time, not push for a Charlo versus Canelo fight, what it reveals is these fans, they were the ones that was worried about Charlo possibly beating Canelo Alvarez. They were the ones, if you think about it, that were overhyping Charlo because they didn't want Canelo to fight him. They felt deep down, this Charlo guy is too dangerous. I hope my Canelo doesn't have to fight him. And now I'm looking at comments and you have people saying, yeah, he was overhyped and etc., etc. And now they're saying he doesn't deserve to fight Canelo. How do you sit over here and say, because he had a tough fight against Matt Karabov, he doesn't deserve to fight Canelo, but yet Rocky Fielding, who had got knocked out previously in the first round, he did deserve to fight Canelo? How does that make any sense, guys? And then you have Gennady Golovkin, who's fighting against Vanes Martirosyan, when he could have fought Sergey Derevyanchenko or Jermall Charlo, but he fights Vanes Martirosyan, a guy who hadn't fought in 2 years and was coming off of a loss and had never fought at the middleweight division. And Gennady Golovkin, he actually gave up his belt to avoid Sergey Derevyanchenko. And he was about to give up his WBC belt to avoid Charlo. But he ended up losing to Canelo before that could happen. So once again, for you guys to celebrate thinking that Canelo doesn't have to fight against Charlo, you guys are sadly mistaken. Everything that happened in the Korobov fight, that was a good thing for Jermall Charlo. Because now that he didn't look so immortal, more fighters will be willing to get in the ring with him. Maybe Canelo will get in the ring with Jermall earlier. I know it's a huge maybe, but maybe Golovkin will even have enough courage to get in the ring with Charlo, since you fans say that Charlo is this bum and he's not a good fighter. But that's how we know that that's not true, because Gennady Golovkin, he was ordered to fight against Charlo, and he still refused to fight him. So Gennady Golovkin, when he hear you guys say that Charlo is a bum, even Gennady Golovkin is looking at you guys like, y'all don't know nothing about boxing if you think this guy's a bum, because I don't want to get in the ring with him. So I'm looking forward to seeing this fight, man. I'm looking forward to seeing Canelo versus Charlo. I truly believe that if Canelo fights against Danny Jacobs next, he should fight against Charlo next. Or Charlo or Golovkin should have to fight against Charlo to get a Canelo fight. That's what Bernard Hopkins said he wanted to see. He said it made sense to have somewhat of a tournament where Canelo fights Jacobs and Golovkin, he fights against Charlo. I think that's a great idea as well. But it's ridiculous to celebrate how Charlo looked if Charlo didn't lose to Canelo Alvarez. Now look, I can understand if I were to tell you guys that Canelo Alvarez was garbage and Charlo is pound for pound the best fighter in the world, or top 3 pound for pound the best fighter in the world, and can't nobody touch him. He ain't gonna come close to losing or something like that, and Canelo will never ever fight him. And then as soon as I say that, Canelo, he turns around, signs the contract, fights Charlo next, and then beats him. Then you guys could say, oh, in your face. Everything you said, you overhyped him. You were saying he was pound for pound the best fighter in the world. You were saying he was this. You were saying Canelo is garbage. That would be more of a situation where you say, in your face, Dante. But if I tell you that Canelo Alvarez, he has avoided Jermall Charlo in the past, that's an actual fact. That's not overhyping Jermall Charlo. That actually happened, right? Just like if I told you guys that it rained last Wednesday, and it did, that's a fact. That's not me speculating or lying or making up anything. That would be considered the whole truth. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. That's all I got for now. Once again, I want you guys to call in. If you disagree with anything that I said in this video, call in when we do the show, okay? Don't just fill up the comment section trolling. Call in so we can have a real conversation, because I'm gonna start blocking these decafs if they don't call in. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.